This episode of the Esoteric Order of Roleplayers is brought to you by the generosity of our backers on Patreon. Go to patreon.com/esotericrp to find out how you can become a backer too. Remember to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram to keep up with all the latest news, and join our Discord community to chat with players and fellow listeners. The Esoteric Order broadcasts from Santa Fe, New Mexico. We recognize these episodes are produced on the traditional territory of the Tewa-speaking Pueblo peoples, and we acknowledge their community, their ancestors, their elders both past and present, and future generations. The Esoteric Order of Roleplayers present The Great Game, a Castle Falkenstein campaign, with David Larkins as the host. Okay, hello everybody, welcome back. We're back for more Falkensteinian action. So as I was saying before I started recording, I did have a little rules addendum that I wanted to send out to everybody, and I will get that sent out. But it has to do with a little rules variant we'll be using. So on that note, I think before we really jump into the story, why don't we take a little bit of time to go over how the system works? If that sounds good to everyone. Excellent. Okay, so you may have noticed, first of all, when you logged into Roll20, that there are two card decks in the virtual tabletop area. And those are basically the engine that powers the game. In fact, for most of you, you'll only be using one deck. So the way that works, let me just get the book open in front of me here. It's really not that complicated. I just want to make sure I don't miss anything. The way it works is that you've all assigned values to your various abilities, right? You've got good and great and poor, average, etc. And the way that works is, as you may have guessed, it corresponds to the difficulty of actions that you might want to undertake. So you might need to get a great success to pull off a particularly daring action, for example. A heroic feat, if you will, as they call it in the game. And so these basically have target values that correspond to your qualitative ability levels. So like if you're good at something, that would have a value of 6. And if you needed to make a good success, then you do so automatically, right? In a perfect world. However, I, as the host, will have my own little hand of cards, and I can play a card with its face value to increase the difficulty level. So I might say, you need a good success, but I'm also going to play this 7, and now you need to beat a 7 or higher from your own hand, you know. So that's the basic way it works. Now, there is a slight complication in that the suits of your card correspond to the activity you're trying to do. So let's say this good difficulty that you needed to hit was for something emotional or romantic. Now, in the basic game, you're using the basic 54 card deck, so I'm just going to talk about that before I get into the rules variant I'll be using. So in the basic game, that corresponds to hearts, right? So if you had a 7 of hearts or a jack of hearts or whatever, you could play that and it would be worth the face value. But if you didn't have any hearts, any other card you play is only going to be worth 1 point. So in that sense, if you had to beat a 7, your hand of cards is only 4 cards at any given time, and you didn't have any hearts in your hand, can't do it. So it's kind of like, how does the face value of the card correspond to the suit, and how does that match the activity? That's sort of the core, mechanic, I guess you could say. And sorcery works very similarly to that, by the way. And let's see, what else? Oh yeah, so then once everything has been played, you then have to look at the totals. So again, let's go back to my example. I played a 7. That makes a value of 13. Let's say you couldn't play any cards, so you have a value of 6. That means that you would be less than the required ability total, but not less than half the required ability total, barely. So that's just a regular failure. If it had been less than half, it would be a fumble. Okay, so there's different levels of success and failure. Actually, strangely corresponding to Pendragons. There's fumble, failure, partial success, full success, and, well, they call it a high success, but basically it's a critical success. So that was an interesting observation that I made as I read the rules. Let's see. That is it in a nutshell. Sometimes you'll be doing something in an opposed contest, so rather than going against a target number, it's just basically 2 parties trying to build the best hand they can, or the best total that they can, and then whoever's higher wins, But that is about it as far as the basic system. So before we push on, any questions on that?
Yes.
Go.
What page of that is in the rule book?
So in the rule book, that is covered from page 182, well, actually really page 181 to page 184.
Okay, great. Because I'll probably be relying on you to tell me if I passed or not.
Sure, absolutely.
for a little bit.
Yeah, no worries.
Which suits correspond to which type of stuff?
Okay, so now that's a good segue to the little house variant we'll be using. So this is a variant that uses the classic tarot deck rather than the 54 card, poker deck or whatever, or 52 card. So for that, we do tarot suits, and this is part of like what I was trying to get sent out to you guys. I didn't. So you just jot down the note for now, and I'll get it sent out to you after the session. But it goes: cups correspond to emotional and romantic activities. Pentacles correspond to mental and intellectual activities. Swords correspond to social and status-related activities. And wands correspond to physical activities.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm. And the reason I particularly wanted to use this variant, and this was actually, this variant was recommended by the Artel Saurian Twitter account when I announced we'd be playing Castle Falkenstein, because Jade, you may remember from when we played, one of the problems is that there are no discards in the basic rules. You get your 4-card hand, and that's it. You're kind of stuck with it until you spend those cards and get to draw back more. It kind of forces you to cycle through your hand, but sometimes you just end up with a really crummy hand and you can't do anything, and then you're trying to draw more and you still can't do anything, and it's kind of frustrating. So the additional element in this variant is the Major Arcana. So the Major Arcana do 2 things. First of all, you can only have 1 Major Arcana card in your hand at a time. So if you draw more than 1, you just put back the ones you don't want, 1 or ones you don't want. But when you have a Major Arcana card in your hand, you can do 2 things. One, you can cash it in to completely discard your entire hand and redraw. So if you just have a real shit hand, but you got a Major Arcana card, cash it in, redraw. The other thing, and this was the other bit I wanted to send out, is that every card has a different narrative trick that you can pull. So you can play the card and, like, for instance, the Empress. The dramatic character feels a rush of passion for the task at hand. Treat any one card played as if it were the queen of its suit. The Hermit. The dramatic character gains an intellectual insight into the problem at hand. Treat a single Pentacles card as if it were the suit of the ability being used for the current feat. And if it's already a Pentacles card, treat it as one higher for the purposes of resolving the feat. Just little modifications. There's even story affecting things like the Fool. Something quite unexpected occurs. The host should draw a card from the fortune deck and use its suit to guide them in creating a twist in the story. So we'll just, since you guys don't have the list in front of you, just ask me when you draw a Major Arcana card this session, and I'll tell you what it does, and you can make a note of it. But I'll get this sent out to you just so you can have it, printed out or up on your screen for future sessions. But I just thought that sounded like a fun little way to, throw some twists into the story as we go. So that's about it. There's special subsystems. Like, for example, there's a whole special system just for duels. If you challenge somebody to a duel. In terms of combat and injury, you all have health points. I'm going to keep track of those myself, but you will keep track of, like, whether you took a wound or a bruising. Was it a blow? A wound, a blow, or a constitutional shock, which is more for the ladies. Although I don't know, Alex's character might be susceptible as well.
Yeah, he's had quite a few in his life.
Yeah, you might swoon if you're handled too roughly. And let's see. Yeah, I think that's about it. So, any questions? All right. Oh, yeah, the thing I want to say about injury is that when you are knocked down to your, like, 0 health, you don't die, obviously. You just go unconscious, or you fall over the edge of the cliff, or some other, appropriate dramatic thing.
Not cool, Dave.
Look, if you want me to kill you off, I can. There is actually an optional rule here. Let's see. When character has gone below 0 health, draw 1 card randomly from the fortune deck. If the card is a spade, which in the tarot would correspond to a sword, of course, of any value, the character has perished. If the value is anything other than a spade, the character lingers on until healed.
Kind of love that.
Okay, yeah. If you want some mortal peril, I'm happy to do it. We can test it out on the Katsubu.
Don't you dare. What was the pentacle again? What was that?
In terms of what? Yeah, mental and intellectual activities.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. Oh, and there's one other little element I noticed when I was kind of flipping back through the book earlier today that we did not really talk about, which is what type of hero or heroine are you? This is just something to think about. So, as it points out here, there are no modern anti-heroes in the world of Castle Falkenstein. There is your heroic hero. There's your tragic hero, character with a dark side. There's your flawed hero, lacks something in their basic morality and are all too willing to sacrifice the principles of expediency. But what distinguishes them from the modern anti-hero is that they know they're doing wrong and regret it and attempt to make amends whenever possible. And then for heroines, there's the innocent heroine, the clever heroine, the tragic heroine, not the same thing as the tragic hero, but rather one who's had a great wrong done upon her, the fallen heroine. So anyway, just some food for thought there in terms of how you sort of funnel your character through this experience.
I don't know if I missed this, but I think I don't recall getting the equipment list from you for ideas of.
Yes. No, I did not send that out. You didn't miss it. Okay. So
I would love to see that just to get a better idea of some of the possibilities, I guess.
Sure.
Like what might be too fantastical but also too boring.
Okay. Yeah. Let me make a note to myself on that. And I do have a list in front of me here as well. Okay. Well, we'll just play it by ear for this session. But other than that, you're all ready to get into it. So, it is autumn of 1871, and you have all gathered for reasons of various motivation at the grand platform in Vienna, the main station, if you will, the Hauptbahnhof, where you will be boarding the Duchess Elizabeth, named after Duchess Elizabeth in Bavaria, who also happens to be the Austrian Empress and Queen of Hungary. The train has caused quite a bit of news of late. It is an international effort, the result of cooperation between the governments of France, Bayern, and Austria. And it is a new type of train engine. It is an engine without any human or other sentient pilots, but rather a Babbage engine installed in the front. So the local media has taken to calling it Babbage's engine, and a little play on words. And all of you have received an invite, as I say, for one reason or another. I have some notes here. I had some ideas on why you might be there, but also more than happy if you had an idea as well of why your characters might be there. That was one thing we didn't really get into, was like how you might know each other or who knows whom. But I think the sort of obvious one, for me at least, would be probably with Frederick, right? Being an Austrian diplomat and the Empress of Austria being on board this train, her namesake, I could definitely see you being a member of her party.
Okay, yeah, that works. I had an idea that the event that got him out of his funk kind of was to kind of be reintroduced into this whole, diplomatic world. So I left it pretty open as far as what that was, but it was something having to do with Paris, so this works perfectly. Maybe he was assigned as an attaché in this kind of diplomatic group with the Empress.
Yeah, I think you're traveling with the party. You're definitely being reassigned to Paris for your own reasons, right? But you're that's exactly it. You're an attaché. One thing, and I really only had time to kind of skim everybody's entries. I'll dive in later, but I didn't see if you named your rival diplomat, the other person in the service who kind of has risen higher in the ranks than you have.
I didn't, but I kind of thought I maybe hinted at it a bit. I was assuming it was the C. Gross who wrote the letter to me.
Sure.
So whoever that might be, but I didn't actually go into much detail about his kind of what he's up to.
Yeah, that's fine. Okay, so we'll just have Herr Gross as the rival for now, and obviously he is heading up the Empress's, security detail, right?
Of course he is, yeah.
Yeah. And then Rainey, I think we did talk last week about Astrid being at least interested not only in the train itself, but also that Rhyme Engine Master was going to be on the train. Did we establish that he tutored her? I think we did, right?
Yeah, that I had done work and learned under him and what he was doing and everything. So I figured might be more of a work trip for me, or because of my work, I'm getting to ride on it to go to Paris or whatever. But yeah.
Cool. And possibly, well, for Iskander, I don't know. I mean, obviously, as an inventor, this would be of interest to you. The inventor of the whole train system is going to be on the train as well, Professor Reinhardt.
It is one of my goals to collaborate and mind meld with other electromechanical adepts and scholars. So that would make sense that on my way to Paris from Macedonia, that I would detour through Vienna, if at all possible, to take a ride on this modern technological marvel.
Indeed. That makes a tremendous amount of sense. And then as for our good friend Grizzly Grant, there could be any number of reasons why you're on the train. I will say that the ambassador from let's see, is he an ambassador of France? I believe so. Anyway, a U.S. ambassador, none other than Mark Twain, is going to be aboard the train as well. So you'll have a fellow American along for the ride.
Fantastic.
Mm-hmm. And lastly, as for Breksta, now, first of all, there's any number of reasons, I'm sure, that you might be interested in this. But I did also just want to say, and I think you're aware of this, Jade, but for everybody else who may not be aware of it, fairy folk, as a general thing, have some vulnerabilities. And one of the classic ones is iron. So fairy folk generally don't like to be aboard like modern contraptions like trains or steamships or that kind of thing. However, part of the deluxe construction of the Duchess Elizabeth was that it was made entirely from special alloys created by dwarvish, metallurgists that minimize the amount of, irritation you would feel from being, surrounded by so much metal. So no worries there. But it could just be as simple as like, you just got a special invite, since any fairy kind of defaults to being treated as nobility.
Yeah, no, I think that sounds good. I think certainly part of it is it sounds like it's uncommon to find trains that have been made quite so specially, and so it's probably a very novel experience. It might even be my very first time on some sort of locomotion as this. So
yeah, I would imagine so. Yeah,
very exciting, even just from an experiential standpoint.
Excellent. Oh, hey, I was just gonna say, by the way, how's the background noise this week? Is it better?
It's very good. Yeah, way better.
Yeah, I got a Krispy Kreme noise gate. So I just put a donut around my microphone.
Sounds delicious.
Yeah, that wouldn't have lasted on my setup. So
it'd be more background noise as you're like,
right. Sorry, Kenny, you were gonna say something.
Oh yeah, I was just gonna say, as to the reason that I'm on this train, I'm probably hunting down my rival, Sir Percival, because I know that he's somehow holding my my Lady Fair. Yeah, a few developments have happened since session 0. I had a session 0.5.
Session 0.5, yeah.
But yeah, he's holding my lady, so I'm probably on this train trying to track this fool down.
Okay, that's great. I can throw you a lead on that. So you have it on good authority that another one of the celebrity passengers is the famous actress Sarah Bernhardt. And she was acquainted with your with your lady, and so and moves in powerful circles. So there's a good chance that she might have a lead for you. That would lead you in the right direction.
Nice.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Now, do any of you know each other already?
I think Astrid and I know each other because we've got a mutual in Rhyme.
That's right.
And I assume that he might have introduced us to each other because my mother is Californian. So.
Oh,
yeah.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, I spent some time in those parts.
Mm-hmm. And might Breksta know Frederick from his time serving at the Sealy Court?
It's possible, yeah. There was a lot of definitely Fae coming and going. I'm not, from there, so I think it's definitely possible, but I'll leave it up to Breksta.
Well, certainly my kind are quite popular as ambassadors, actually, on that side of the Vale. So I think it very likely that as a fellow ambassador of sorts, we probably rubbed elbows at least once or twice. For better and for worse.
Good. Yeah.
Very, what was the Star Trek that was like a United Nations ship? Was that Deep Space Nine? Am I completely off base?
No, you got it.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Very Deep Space Nine. Let's see. And then Iskander, how about you?
I don't think I know anyone. I'm not from around here. I've been living in a mosque for let's see, about 12 years or so. So
right.
Mostly working in a basement and, working in the mountains and stuff, helping dig wells and build local sick rooms or whatever, hospital type, whatever, helping the community, construction.
There you go.
And so on. So really, I feel like I just blew into town, and I don't know anyone, but I feel like everyone knows of me because I'm just this huge dude, like walking around with these giant suitcase and stuff like that.
Oh, I love it. Actually, that's a great entry point to the scenario. So I think we'll get right into that with chapter 1. I don't know, is it too much of a spoiler to give the title of the chapter? Or is that fitting for the for the genre?
Yes.
Chapter 1: Mayhem on the Platform.
Love it.
All right. So the train has pulled in from its I guess its little shed that it was built in, and the crew are busy coupling it to the I should say the train engine is pulled in. The crew are busy coupling it to the cars. Obviously, this is a big event. So picture a massive metropolitan train station with great sweeping arches of glass and wrought iron, cross beams, the whole place like this sort of industrial cathedral, really. And the platform that you're on, the main platform, is crowded with people, passengers and well-wishers who have come to see you off on this historic journey. And of course, obviously, the Empress Elizabeth herself is going to be on this train, traveling in a private car. So everyone's sort of anxiously awaiting her arrival. When Iskander, you having just gotten off your much funkier little short line train, from whatever town you were coming in from, Innsbruck or whatever, you're seeing this whole commotion, and there's a brass band playing, there's people popping off little streamers and just a general air of merriment. And what catches your eye is that amongst all this merriment and festivity, there appears to be some rough business going on. There's a group of toughs, bounders, cads, down at the far end of the platform.
The two youths.
Yes, and they're hassling a older middle-aged woman and her young companion in a way that just from the body language alone you can tell is very much unwanted advances.
It sounds like a tailor-made situation in which I must interfere.
Sounds
I must
that way.
protest.
Indeed. So there are 4 of them.
That's okay.
It's about even odds.
Well, I'm not much of a pugilist, pure horsepower, but there are certain things that the human body, by and large, just knows how to do. And, the fight for your life is one of them. So if you have a big gas tank and a lot of horsepower, you can be pretty effective. But the thing is, that doesn't even matter, because it's not about the odds. It's about the fact that that's wrong and it will not stand. Aggression will not stand, man.
Aggression shall not stand.
Yeah.
All right. So I just dealt everybody. I just dealt everybody your hands. So you'll see them on roll 20 next to your name or avatar. Go ahead and take a look at the hands, and if you have more than one major arcana, send one back and draw another.
I literally got 4 major arcana.
I got 3.
What the hell? I didn't get any.
Me neither, so it's okay.
All right.
I got them all. Anybody want one?
I have no idea. I'm like, what's a major arcana for 100, Alex?
Right.
So the major arcana are your the cards that have like a title, so death or the tower or the empress.
So if they have numbers on them, then you're minor arcana.
Yeah. Exactly.
Oh, okay. I see what's going on. Okay, never mind. I've never mind that. I thought we were playing we were gonna have regular playing cards and then the major arcana thrown in.
Oh, okay.
So I was like,
Yeah, what are the odds?
So if they have words at the bottom, then
not necessarily, because the court cards also have words at the bottom. So Knight of Cups, King of Cups, But yeah, if it let's see, what's the best way to say it? If it has a number at the top and some words at the bottom, that's major arcana.
That being said, can you
Yes.
tell me about the ones that I have, so I can maybe choose which one I'll keep, and then
You make an educated decision.
Yes.
Indeed. What do you got?
I have the Hanged Man,
Uh-huh.
Fool, and the High Priestess.
Wow. Dynamite. Okay, well, like I said, with the Fool, you can play that to have something unexpected occur. I then have to draw a card from the fortune deck and use the suit to guide me in creating a twist for the story. The Empress, you said?
High Priestess.
High Priestess. Oh my, the dramatic character is looking particularly fetching today. Convert the suit of one card chosen at random from the dramatic character's hand to swords, and the converted card need not be played on this feat. And then the Hanged Man. For a brief instant, the dramatic character experiences a dizzying sensation as reality itself seems to twist and warp. The player and the host must exchange their hands. The player then resolves the feat using their new hand. Huh.
Excellent.
That's awesome.
Fun. Yeah. Anybody else have more than one or have one at all and want to know details?
I mean, I think I have 2, but
What do you got?
I'm not sure. So I have a card that has a 9 at the top and it says the Hermit at the bottom.
Yep.
Am I reading this right? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I have another one that has a 7 at the top and Strength at the bottom.
Strength, indeed. Okay, so strength. Like a knight of old, the dramatic character steps forward in the defense of others. Increase the level of success of a feat, partial to full, for example, or full to high, but only if the dramatic character is acting to defend another. Well, shit.
Holy crap.
Yeah, right.
Oops.
And then the hermit. The dramatic character gains an intellectual insight into the problem at hand. Treat a single pentacles card as if it were a suit of the ability being used for the current feat. And if it's pentacles already, treat it as played one higher for purposes of resolving. So I'd say strength would be the obvious one.
Yeah.
There.
I mean, I have to thank Jade profusely for asking, because otherwise it'd have been like, the only thing I know about tarot is that stuff never means what it seems to on the surface. So strength probably means like you're actually a bit of a shrew or something like that. So I would have like thrown that away and kept the hermit, because the hermit means you're like whatever. So, anyway, it didn't work out that way this time. So fantastic.
Thank God. All right. Cool. So back to the train platform. We have 4 toughs roughing up a lady and her companion.
All right. So I have to briskly stride over my long-legged strides, quite Lincoln-esque. And put my the heavy, big leather luggage that I have. It's not only big, but just I guess massive is a better term. It's quite heavy. So when I put it down, it makes on this platform, it makes quite the thud of authority on that. And with that to punctuate my question, I'll ask, what is the meaning of this?
All right. So one of the toughs looks at you and just says, buzz off. This doesn't concern you.
I will not buzz off. It concerns me anywhere that 4 youths would be harassing these fine people. What is your business here? State your intent.
All right. So, Iskander's making quite a little scene here. So Breksta, I think you're, near enough nearby to overhear all this going down.
I'm probably watching with a slight amount of interest. I think this person certainly looks a bit like a giant, and that's kind of unusual.
Yeah.
As for what these other people may or may not be doing, I mean, I don't know. I probably wasn't paying quite enough attention to know whether or not anyone has perhaps done something right or wrong.
Absolutely.
But I'm probably drawing a little closer out of interest and curiosity, if nothing else.
Sure. All right. So the guy who kind of turned on you, Iskander, he just raises a cudgel in one hand and says, you don't look so tough to me. Get out of here.
I'll deal with you in a moment. One moment while I converse with my new friends here. I would like to ask the lady and her companion for their side of the story. While holding up the one moment finger to the guy with the cudgel, like I'll murder you in a second. Just stand by.
Right. Okay. I'm a little curious about that in terms of how they might react to that. And I imagine, Astrid, you are also at this point overhearing this commotion.
Okay. Am I just overhearing that there's something going on at this point, or do I see kind of the situation?
You see a guy raising a cudgel and threatening this other dude. So, that's definitely something. Yeah.
This is a very important day. This is not, nope. So I'm just going to walk my short ass over there. Because Iskander's 7 feet tall or something crazy like that. And I'm 5'4". So I'm just this square little creature. I'm tough. And I was like, why are we making a ruckus here? This is a great day. We need to keep calm, everyone. What is this about? No, this is not cudgel time.
What is Iskander's physique?
It is good.
Okay. So these guys are definitely not as tall as you, obviously, but they're like surprisingly buff. Like they look like the dance troupe from the touring production of Newsies, for example. It's a reference everybody can get. No, but they're just in really good shape under their sweater vests, So that is to say, they also have a good physique. So I think let's make this interesting. Let's make this a dramatic challenge. That is indeed what they call it. A dramatic feat. Okay, or heroic feat. I'll get it eventually. All right, so let's see here. So you're trying to get these guys to kind of back off for a moment, not necessarily start throwing down immediately, right?
Not just yet, yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right, and so that could be. Now, you as the player, you can decide. Do you want that to be a physique thing, or is there something else maybe that you could use, like charisma, for example, or some other ability to just kind of shut them down?
There's nothing else that I'm necessarily good at. I mean, I've my entire adult life, I've just kind of traded on the sheer size, and it's kind of like the in my mind when I was imagining this character, I was thinking of the original Conan, where they put him on the wheel of pain to be broken, but he's stronger than it, and that's how he gets like massive, just pushing this giant thing around. So he's doing all this construction and this work in the rugged terrain of northern Macedonia for the good of the community. And so he's just out in the sun and lifting big old hempen ropes, nets full of rocks and all kind of stuff like that, right? Digging wells and ditches and all sorts of shit. And so, plus, he just has this like throwback DNA, somehow in his lineage. He's just, not necessarily entirely human. Like maybe all of us have Neanderthal or Denisovan DNA in us and stuff like that might lend to that kind of physique. He's just got that right sequence that makes him just this big hulking dude prone to packing on the muscle.
And as Jade sort of intimated, even in the world of Castle Falkenstein, it could even be literally like you had some giants in your heritage, some actual giants. They say that Sarah Bernhardt is half fairy herself, so
I was thinking, something like that. Some people met, fell in love, lines crossed somewhere back in his lineage, and here he is. So when someone holds up a cudgel and threatens you with it, and your reaction is like, hang on a second, like I feel like that's kind of like a calm sort of thing, not the eyebrows raised and eyes wide, like, oh wait, no, but more of the one moment, like, I feel like that's just an inherent act of intimidation, even though it's not a charisma-based thing. It's more of a presence-based thing. So that's why I was long-winded explanation of why I was thinking that's just pure physique.
All right. Makes sense to me. So, having said all that, you have a good physique. Do you want to add anything to that with a card from your hand? One or more cards.
So is like I'm trying to remember the because my notes, I was typing furiously. I'm like, cups, emotional, and oh crap, I missed it. Pentacles, I missed that one entirely. Swords, oh no. So I don't remember which one is which at this point.
So wands is your physical activities.
Got it. Okay, cool. I think I have a wands. Not sure. I'm just gonna pull this out and see.
That would be wands. A 10. Good lord. All right, so That gives you a total of 16. Now, I'm looking at my hand, so that then it would come to me, to decide if I wanted to try and play anything as well to beat that. But I actually do not at this time. So that allows you to handily beat that challenge. And there's no discard pile, by the way. When you play a card, it gets shuffled back in immediately. So that is what I just did. And great. So yeah, so you hold up this warning finger to the guy, and he's just like standing there kind of dumbfounded, like, oh?
Usually people don't react that way.
Usually people don't encounter 7-foot tall half giants either. So
yeah. He's only 6'10". It's his engineer boots that give him the extra 2 inches.
Of course. All right. So you're turning to the 2 ladies then.
Oh, it's 2 ladies. See, I thought it was a lady and her guy friend, but it's a couple of ladies.
Well, that's the thing. So as you turn and look at these 2 a little more closely, yes, the older woman is wearing full length skirts, and she's got a smart jacket and a vest. She's all done up. Her companion is maybe about half her age and dressed in a tailored suit, but wearing her hair long, and you can see, definitely, like features of a young woman.
All right. Dang. That's even more imperative than that they should be old-fashioned. So, I mean, not me. The Iskander is old-fashioned, so right. They should be protected, and the situation needs to be sorted out immediately. So, I've asked them what their side of the story is, why these 4 ruffians are accosting them.
Okay.
If they need assistance.
So the older woman says, yes, very much so. Thank you. My name is Professor Reinhardt, and this is my daughter, Sasha.
Immediately.
And this is my daughter, Sasha. And so the 4 thugs look completely taken aback by this whole development.
So normally stony brow, I think, would cloud over even more, because I have resting, I will murder you and eat you face. So it gets even worse when he hears that this is a professor, this is a teacher. I am on my way to Paris to meet with the professor. Teachers are very sacred to me, given that my surrogate father was also my primary teacher. So this just really took it to 11, kind of. In, I would turn to them just very thunderhead of brow. How dare you?
So of course, by this point, this whole scene has attracted a lot of attention, and so the 4 guys, kind of look at each other, and they sort of just slink off, away from the platform, if you let them.
Yeah, I mean, if they're gonna leave, obviously you let them, leave. They're no longer a threat, then violence is no longer warranted.
All right. So Breksta and Astrid, you are nearby, and we'll get back to you as Astrid picks herself up off the platform. But meanwhile, on the exterior of the Grand Station, we have another crowd which is gathered in anticipation of the arrival of the Empress. In this crowd, we have none other than Grizzly Grant Morgan, who has arrived in the company of one Mark Twain, who is attending both in his official capacity as ambassador and also to, take notes for a book that he is working on about life in Europe called Innocents Abroad.
Nice.
And So yeah, there's a grand trumpet fanfare, and everyone begins to crane their necks as the sound of clopping horse hooves can be heard coming down the cobblestone street. And sure enough, here comes the procession of Empress Elizabeth with, full military guard of honor on horseback with their, shining helmets and with the, gigantic plumes and their immaculate uniforms, sabers rattling at their sides, and several carriages worth for this procession. As it comes to a halt outside the train station, and the footmen come around and begin opening doors. About 3 carriages down, a door is opened, and a little black cat comes streaking out, followed soon after by a neurasthenic-looking young man.
So I'll just sigh, as Katsubu disappears into the crowd, and use my cane to try to catch up.
All right, you catch sign of your rival. Let's see, first initial C. So Carl would be the classic, although it would normally spell with a K, but maybe he's like weird like that.
Oh, he is. He would spell with the C. So yeah, I'll give him a good squinting.
Yeah, so as your rival Carl Gross dismounts from the Empress's own carriage and offers her his hand as she debarks from the carriage.
I can't with this guy.
All right. So in the crowd there, Grant, witnessing this whole thing playing out. Any thoughts in particular? I mean, this is a level of pomp and ceremony you don't get back in America.
Yeah. I definitely see I see this cat go out and this dude, I'm like, that dude's chasing a cat.
That actual dude.
Yeah, that actual dude. Dude is period accurate here, listeners.
Second.
Yeah, kind of looking at that and scratching my chin a little bit. And Mark is chilling. He's next to me, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I'm going to look at Mark and be like, what do you make of all this? We're on first name basis, by the way.
Oh, yeah. In which case he would insist you call him Sam. Oh,
that's right, Sam.
So he says, well, just another day in Europe. They like their showcases over here. They like to show off.
Yeah, I can tell. I don't quite understand the ceremony. Of course, I suppose if the was it the Emperor of California? Is that right?
That's right.
If the Emperor of California showed up one day, at the train station, I suppose everybody get out and look at him too.
Oh yeah.
What do you and do I know what Mr. Twain is doing on this train?
So he is technically a diplomat. He's an ambassador.
That's right.
Yeah.
And am I like riding with him?
That's up to you. If you want, you can be a guest, you can be his +1.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would like to be
he probably overheard your American accent at a cafe, came over, introduced himself,
Oh, nice. Yeah. I would like to be his +1, but perhaps maybe a recent acquaintance, so I can still ask him questions.
You can be an exposition dump.
That's right. That's what I'm looking for.
All right, cool.
But yeah, I'm gonna look at Sam because I know he's pretty well connected.
Mm-hmm.
And I say, as all of this stuff is going on, I don't know that I'm particularly interested in what the Empress is doing here, because I've got my mind on bigger fish, so to speak. So I'm gonna look at him and be like, well, so I hear there's an actress gonna be on board with this, Miss Bernhardt. Do you know her about her at all?
Oh, yes, I saw her play on the Paris stage last year. She's quite fetching.
Mm-hmm. And I've heard I heard she does a good Cordelia in King Lear. And when I say that, that comes off completely like almost as if I just said it. I hear her Cordelia is pretty good.
Yeah, so he does cock a bushy eyebrow at that,
Yeah.
But he nods, just kind of says, "Yeah, I imagine it is."
Any chance you think we could get in the same room as her?
Oh yes, I'm sure we can arrange an introduction. This train line's supposed to have all the amenities.
That's good. Spared no expense.
Indeed.
What? And one last thing I'd like to ask Mark.
Mm-hmm.
Just be like, what are you going to be doing on this train in regards to the Empress?
Well, I'll pay my respects on behalf of President Grant, and just kind of make the rounds, the life of the diplomatic corps, So as he's saying that, the procession's been going by this entire time as they're filtering into the train station. The Empress went by a couple minutes ago. So Frederick, you're kind of coming up in the train behind the Empress, and you hear that.
So speaking of which, what
now occurs to me, I don't know if you speak English or not, but anyway, go
on. That's a good point. What would my official duties be in this kind of situation as an attaché?
I mean, you're what do they call it, like a minister without portfolio right now. So you're just you're actually on a business trip. You're traveling to Paris, and it's just like, oh yeah, well, since the Empress is going to be there, et cetera, you'll just be traveling in her private car with the rest of the rest of her party, basically.
Okay, but I'm free to travel around.
Oh, sure.
Mingle with other passengers. It's not like I'm strictly business at this point.
No, you'll get your assignment when you arrive in Paris. So for right now, it's just like it's like an all expense paid business trip. You just relax. Relax. Just chill out. What you're so good at.
Yeah, it's your MO.
Yeah. Oh yeah, very relaxed all the time. Very chill.
Yeah.
Do I recognize Mark Twain?
You would. Yes, you recognize him as the French ambassador, or the ambassador to France, I should say.
Okay, so I'll kind of step out from the procession and approach, taking my cap off and offering my hand. Mr. Twain.
Oh, yes. And you can see him kind of searching his mental Rolodex there for a second, and he's like, "Mr. Haas. Pleased to see you here."
I am honored you would remember me.
I'll tip my hat and say, how would I address this guy?
Well, I mean, since you're meeting him for the first time, an exchange of cards would be in order.
That's right. Okay. Yeah, I'll tip my hat and reach in my breast pocket, and then kind of pat myself down, and then reach into my back pocket and pull out a little card.
Oh yes, of course, excellent. So I'll reach in and pull out a little metal, container, flip it, a little silver container, flip it open, and pull out a card and hand it to Grizzly Grant Morgan.
You tell a lot about a man, about how he handles his business cards. I'll hand it to you, and I'll say, is it morning? I would assume it's morning.
Yes.
Okay, good. So, yeah. I say, good morning, sir. Grant Morgan, at your service. Here in accompaniment of Mark Twain here.
Yes, pleased to meet you. I am Frederick Haas, and I would like to extend my congratulations on your arrival, I suppose. But yes,
Oh,
very, very good.
yeah. Thank you very much, sir. Are you Deutsch?
I'm from Innsbruck in Austria.
Oh, fantastic. I'm from well, nowhere you'd ever heard of. I'm sure. Across the pond.
Yes, very good. Americans then.
Yeah, same as Mr. Twain.
Excellent.
Is Mr. Twain? Is he having? Does he look like he's jumping at the bit to say something?
Well, he's just letting you two get to know each other.
Okay, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I say, are you in the accompaniment of the Empress?
Yes. I have business in Paris, but I'm traveling with the Empress on this journey. But speaking of which, I should probably get going. But perhaps later we can have dinner on the dining car.
Please make it a drink.
Yes, of course. Well, good day to you, and to you, Mr. Twain.
Good day, Mr. Haas.
Mr. Haas. All right. So meanwhile, back inside the station. So Astrid, you had a moment.
There we go. I'm like, why is my stuff always trying not to be? It's trying to meet me. It's trying to keep me down.
That's right.
But yes, like hearing that was the Professor Reinhardt, like the person who figured out the system that allows remote control of the engine, I'm like fangirling out. I'm like, and then like Iskander's over there, and I'm like, do you even know who you helped? Oh wow, this is certainly a good day.
I would suppose that any teacher is worthy of esteem, especially one at such a level of professor. But no, I've never heard of this Professor Reinhardt and her lovely daughter, Sasha.
So at that compliment, Sasha gives you, pretty big smile, Iskander, and she says, your timing was impeccable.
It was nothing. I only did what anyone would have done under such circumstances. It is a pleasure to meet you. My name is Iskander Ozan, Blade of Macedonia.
Well, it's a pleasure to meet you indeed. I am Sasha Reinhardt, and this is my mother, Carla.
How do you do?
Mr. Ozan, do you have any immediate plans?
I do not. The extent of my plans is to present myself to Professor Godot at the University of Paris.
Well, this is a fortunate day indeed, then. This very train is bound for Paris, and we are due to board it any minute now. Won't you come aboard as my guest? It's the least I can do to thank you.
I couldn't possibly.
No, I insist.
Well, if you insist, madam, I must comply.
Yes, we would definitely love to go. That sounds very good.
Awesome.
All right. So at that point, Astrid, you remember that you had also come to, accompany Professor Engine Master on this particular journey, and indeed he is around. So you could very much, arrange an introduction between him and Professor Reinhardt if you were so inclined.
Yes, that would be good.
All right. So while that's going on, Frederick, you come onto the platform. You spot another familiar face, an ambassador from the other side of the veil. Breksta Boland was her name, if you recall correctly. And in fact, Katzaboo has already sauntered over and is saying hello in his own Katsy way, sort of doing little figure eights between her ankles.
So I will approach and doff my cap with the proper respect. Good morning, Breksta. It's good to see you. You look wonderful.
Why, hello, Freddie. How long has it been?
That is an excellent question. Time is quite strange in your land. Perhaps it has been a year, perhaps it has been longer. But even still, my memories of our enjoyable times are quite crystalline in my mind.
Oh, good. I'm glad one of us remembers.
Yes, of course. And it looks like Katsibu has found you.
Oh, yes. Well, we were such fast friends before.
You have met Katsibu before.
Oh, of course.
Quite unusual. I was not aware of that. Well, very good. Yes. Yeah. Many things to think about.
Yes,
Of course, in your experience, Frederick, since these Fey folk view time as happening all at once at times, she could just be remembering meeting him right now.
That's true, but Frederick was also paranoid at first that Katsibu was a spy for the fairy. So he got over that fear, but now it's bubbling up again.
Yeah,
he's like, I was right. I knew it.
Yeah. Your cover is blown, Katsibu. Go.
How dare you, Katsibu, try to befriend me? Well, so are you traveling on this train?
Yes, actually, it's my very first time. I'm quite excited, I must admit. Is it your first time on a train?
Not on the train, but on this one, yes. This one is a very special train. The I forgot what it's called. What is the name of this engine?
Well, it's powered by a Babbage engine, an analytical engine, rather.
Yes, the Babbage engine, right? That's what they're calling it. Babbage's engine.
Yes, that sounds right.
Yes, quite delightful.
Well then, since you know all about these things, I would love to hear about everything, trains, I'm sure you must have seen other trains and know other things about trains. Come, we'll sit together and you can tell me all about it.
Yes, trains. Well, not quite the expert, but I'm sure we could have a discussion. I'm joining the journalist Mark Twain later for dinner. Perhaps you would like to join us.
That sounds lovely.
Yes, he's there with his friend, Mr. Grant Morgan. Quite an interesting gentleman.
Why?
He has a lot of, what is that called? The Americans wear is it buckskin or the furs? He's very, very striking individual.
Oh. Well, I look forward to seeing these furs.
Yes, they're very nice.
Real American cowboy.
Yeah, totally like the German obsession with like the American.
Yeah.
It's amazing. You were like, that's the picture books I read as a child.
So Zima and then punch each other silly.
So come Katsibu, we will be late for the train. Meow, come on.
All right, so Katsibu does indeed fall into line behind you. And yes, the conductors are calling for all aboard at this point, and the crowd is beginning to once again cheer with excitement. People waving goodbye, throwing confetti. It's basically like a steamship launch essentially, and so one by one you all board the train. Now, if you go to your Obsidian portal and you look on the wiki tab and then you scroll down at the bottom of the wiki, there is a link that says the Duchess Elizabeth. If you click on that, there's a floor plan. Just, in case you're curious. You can open it in a new tab for a closer look. But there are 3 sleeping cars. There is a parlor car, there's a dining car, and then, of course, the private car of the Empress. Let's see here. I'm looking at the sleeping car diagram. Looks like there's 2 beds to a berth. Makes sense. All right, so I am going. Let's get everyone bunked up. So Iskander, obviously, you're a late addition. So you're just going to be thrown in with, some other random passenger. Frederick, you're in the Empress's car. We'll get to that in a second. Grant, you would be bunking with Sam, no doubt. And I guess that just leaves Astrid and Breksta to share a compartment. To whatever extent a fairy needs a sleeping compartment, I don't know. But
I like to think that I pretend to sleep at this point. It must be kind of fun. Humans do it all the time.
right. Gets kind of boring otherwise, right? Just sitting around waiting for everyone to wake up.
It's like Katsubu.
Yes, you're bunking with Katsubu. No, actually, I'm looking at the Empress's car, and it looks like, of course, she has her own stateroom, and then I'm seeing what appear to be 2 bunks in another compartment. So obviously, Frederick, you would be bunking up with your good friend, Carl Gross.
Was this his idea?
There's only so many
Fate?
beds to go around, so yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So the porters show everyone to your cabins, and everything is kind of arranged as the train begins to slowly pull out from the station. Actually, yeah. Iskander, I think you'd be bunking with Rhyme Engine Master. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
Lucky.
All right. So there's that kind of settling in period as you're just kind of getting all your things arranged in your cabins. You watch out the windows as the train pulls away from the station and begins making its way out of Vienna proper. And before you know it, you are out in the countryside. The train does seem to be moving at quite a healthy clip, as promised. Let's see. Anything anyone wants to do in particular as the train is underway?
I'm definitely keeping an eye out for Miss Bernhardt.
Oh, okay, sure. Absolutely. Anybody else?
Yeah, I'm going to pack and then try to get out of the sleeping car as quickly as possible, especially if Carl Gross is there. So I'll go, just wander the train, check it out. I am interested in the train in general, so maybe just one end to the other, kind of do a little tour.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I would, unless I knew he was like sleeping or something, try to catch up with Rhyme Engine Master, make sure he doesn't need anything, or if there's something I need to be doing, or make sure no one's trying to steal his stuff, just general thing.
Right. Check in on Senpai. All right. Anybody else?
Yes, I'm going to be occupied with securing my luggage in the closet of this berth, what have you.
Uh-huh.
Not only ensuring that it fits, but that it is properly secured, because this is very, very important to me, the contents of this luggage. And if it's not locked properly, I'm going to have to find a way to lock it, perhaps with a padlock of my own design, of which I would assume that I might have, and or something like that. So I can either accomplish this right away and then go mingle, or I'm going to be preoccupied with doing this, depending on how it shakes out.
All right. Well, you are in the berth with Rhyme, so he's kind of watching you, trying to secure this luggage, very, very quietly, but attentively, and he says, "You transporting some valuable material there?"
Oh, yes, indeed, Master Rhyme. This is the prototype of my journeyman piece, which will unlock the door to my future. I am certain of it. If I can only puzzle out the components that have stymied me thus far, I will be able to complete it and obtain journeyman status. As such, it is entirely unique and priceless to me.
I thought I saw the hands of an inventor. Well, good luck to you.
Yes, thank you. Perhaps we can speak of inventions and other similar contrivances as the journey progresses.
Perhaps. So at that point, Astrid, you come knocking.
Yeah, I try to do my best dwarven greeting, so it's like, hello. It's not very good. I'm still learning.
So he says, oh yes, Miss Faraday. I think I'll be fine here in these quarters.
Well, oh yes, this is a very capable person. I met Mr. Ozan out while we were waiting for the train, so I'm sure you'll be in fine company, but do call on me if you need anything.
Of course. I think I'm just going to take a nap now, if you don't mind.
Of course. Do you need tea or milk?
No, I'm fine, thank you.
Or beer?
Perhaps some later.
Okay.
All right. Meanwhile, let's see, elsewhere on the train. So, Frederick, you're getting settled in, and then how about Grant? You're going to start touring the train, right? Looking for.
Yeah, I'm looking for Miss Bernhardt. I'm also not shy about looking for a drink. Yeah.
Okay.
Preferably some bourbon. I need a good bourbon.
All right. Well, the parlor car has everything you need there.
Nice.
Mm-hmm. And so I think, it's easy enough to say that eventually all of you gravitate towards the parlor car. It's getting on to about midday. And
how smooth is the ride on this train? Is it pretty bumpy or is it pretty...
Well, as far as trains go, it is a train, but it's pretty smooth.
Okay. Like smooth enough to properly concoct like a traditional absinthe sort of setup with the sugar cube and so forth, or is that asking too much?
I think you could probably pull it off.
Smothering the parrot this early, huh?
Oh yeah. So yeah, he'll be in the parlor car with Katsubu riding shotgun as he's carefully pouring the absinthe over the sugar cube.
This crazy motherfucker over here.
About noon.
Absinthe o'clock somewhere.
Hello.
Yeah. I'm definitely gonna. I mean, when I see you do that, I'm gonna be like, wow. I got the bourbon going, but it's just to relax, Mr. Haas, good seeing you. You doing all right?
Oh yes, please join me. I must apologize for the brevity of my of our earlier meeting on the platform. I was looking for Katsubu here. He was missing, but please, there's an open seat.
Oh, please, yeah, okay, I'll sit down. And yeah, I'm definitely in like casual mode. I've got like my duster, cowboy hat. Pretty done up. I am wearing my European whatever shirt I bought in London to like fit in with the locals.
Mm-hmm.
I take my hat off, and my hair is kind of it's slicked back, but it's all grease, just from my own making. I get my bourbon out and I start admiring Mr. Haas's contraption here.
Ah, yes. This is, have you had this before? This is absinthe.
Seems like a awfully complicated way to get drunk.
Well, yes, it is complex, but it is also quite meditative in its own way. But yes, let me finish this up here. I apologize once again.
Take your time.
There we are. So, Mr. Morgan, you are the cowboy, yes?
Well, you might call me that, yeah.
That's very intriguing. I wish to know more about this. You come from the United States and the... where exactly?
Well, I was born in the territories. Spent most of my time there, but I spent a few years in California. I'm sure you've heard of that.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, nothing too exciting, I'm afraid. Spent some time in war, but haven't we all?
No, I have not.
Oh, I'll drink.
Yes, I've fought battles, but they are mostly mental battles inside my own mind.
Oh, yes. I understand. That must be rough.
Yes, it was unpleasant, but I'm better now, sort of, mildly. I have my moments.
Well, that's good to hear, Mr. Haas. Well, yeah, tell me. So, what brings you to Her Royal Majesty's employ?
Honestly, chance. I am a diplomat with the Royal Embassy in Vienna, and I have an assignment in Paris, and just so happened that the Empress was traveling, and I am here as her attaché.
Can you speak on your assignment in Paris, or is that top secret?
To be honest, I do not know what it is yet. So I'm
a man of mystery. Okay, I like that. I'm also on my way to Paris, if it's not evident by these tracks we're on.
Yes, that is a good thing. You're on the right train.
Yeah, I'm not on a mission or anything. I'm not a diplomat. Hardly have any station. I just have a little bit of money, that's all.
Well, that is good. Yes, very good. I suppose we are all here for a reason, and what better reasons than to spend a little money, yes?
Spend a little money, make some friends, and I'll kind of like tip my drink to you, you know? And yeah.
I'll raise my drink as well.
There we go. Well, I'll knock one back. I'll say, here's to you, Mr. Haas.
And to you, Mr. Morgan.
All right. So at that moment, the compartment door, the car door, slides open at one end, and in comes this very statuesque looking woman, you know, with these sort of captivating gimlet eyes and her hair all done up in this very elaborate pile, you know, and pretty much every head, you know, turns to look, you know, there's just this like kind of natural magnetism that follows her around. And, you know, you hear a few people whispering like, Sarah Bernhardt, that's her.
I'm going to finish my drink and say, Mr. Haas, if you'll excuse me, and I'll stand up and
of course, Ms. Morgan.
Start walking towards the lady of the hour.
All right. So meanwhile, let's see, Astrid, you know, you and Iskander have been, you know, invited over to a little corner booth by Sasha. And so she has seated herself there with you, and she's just kind of going on about her mother and her work, you know, and she says, oh yeah, she's up at the front right now, just hooking up the automated telegraphic punched card shuffler.
Oh yes, the shuffler. That's That's the whole thing. It lets them control it. You don't have to have a pilot at all. It's amazing.
Yes, no, it's really, I mean, the technology has been there for a while to make these engines run on their own without human pilots, but they're just machines. They can't actually respond to any environmental stimulus. So with the shuffler, that can now be integrated into the analytical engine in a way that allows it to respond to disruptions on the track or other unexpected events going on during the train journey, and makes it safe.
That's what I love, like these inventions that help everyone.
Here, here. Well said. That's making me question my own inventive endeavors, though.
He's slacking.
And I do have, like, in my little spot on the table, like, stuff ready for, like, tea, milk, and beer in case I need to be called away.
Okay.
It's ready to go.
Nice.
I feel like
I'm
trying to cram myself into this corner booth and just before giving up and dragging over a nearby ottoman to kind of hunker down on instead.
Why has it got to be an ottoman? Yeah, and you note, Iskander, that Sasha's definitely giving you, a lot of very appreciative looks. If you didn't know better, you'd say she was flirting with you.
Wonder what I would roll if this was a different type of game to pick up on that or not.
Well, is your poor ability anything relating to interpersonal skills? What's your poor ability?
Stealth.
Yeah. So
It's
you're not
impossible
particularly
for me to sneak around.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Yeah, the floorboards always creak. It's definitely not. You're not like oblivious. You're not an oblivious person. I know you were saying like you kind of had a bad experience and that put you off, but that's just more of a personal choice rather than the inability to sense that somebody's being friendly.
Yeah, I feel like I would be, as a young man entirely inexperienced with the fairer sex, I would be quite nervous and prone to flushing under her scrutiny.
Indeed.
I might stammer a bit, be a little awkward.
Indeed. All right. So as that's going on, as I mentioned, Miss Bernhardt has entered, and she sees Breksta, who is, perhaps nursing a flute of champagne or something appropriate of that nature, and sort of swans over to you and says, Miss Boland, it is such an honor to see you aboard this train. And she gives you the little air kiss,
She has to bend quite far down to make that happen. But I stand on my tiptoes to receive her.
I keep forgetting you're like 3.5 feet tall.
I'll say 4. I'm on the tall side.
Oh, okay. All right, you're statuesque.
Yes.
All right. Yeah,
But
absolutely.
Miss Bernhardt, it is a pleasure to see you.
Yes, indeed. Tell me, you must tell me everything you've been up to since the last time we talked. And she kind of leads you over to another little settee.
Mm-hmm.
So of course, Grant, you see this whole thing go down.
Yeah, I don't want to be rude or make an ass out of myself.
Mm-hmm.
So I probably just stand there awkwardly while they like far enough to where it doesn't look like I'm waiting in line, so to speak. But still definitely like you cannot not see me.
Right. that horrible feeling of being at a party and waiting for somebody to wave you into the conversation.
All right, yeah, and I've got like I'm like holding the brim of my hat like down by my stomach and
Oh,
like,
do you
my
rock a
hair.
Stetson, by the way? Do you
Oh,
do a little 10-gallon?
Absolutely.
Nice. All right. So Breksta, you see this frontiersman nearby.
You might smell me
Clearly.
first. I don't know.
Well, did you slam an absinthe shot, or were you doing your own bourbon?
Just the bourbon. I didn't
Okay.
touch the green stuff.
Yeah. I like that we have our own green fairy in the train as it is.
I imagine
All right.
I'll kind of glance at him and notice the skins. Like, good heavens, are you the deer man?
Well, you might call me that, ma'am.
Like, come here. Let me get a closer look. How odd.
Yeah, I stand there and I'm like definitely acknowledging Breksta, but I'm more looking at Miss Bernhardt.
Mm-hmm.
I do quick question about the world and the game, perhaps.
Mm-hmm.
Would Breksta immediately pick up that like I'm capable of magic, and if so, is like doing magic a big deal?
Oh, interesting. Gosh, that's an excellent question.
Thank you.
Since I don't have a ready answer, what do you think, Breksta?
Well, out of character, I know there were other like historical periods when the fairies encountered humans who could do magic, and in fact, kind of it was much more common, like everyone could do it to a relatively high degree by comparison. So I don't think it would seem so strange, maybe just a little anachronistic. More novel probably than anything else.
Okay, yeah. I'm
Cool.
fine with being a novelty.
Yeah, so you can
Being
definitely
able to
see he's
tell
more
the-
than just a cowboy. There's something else to him there. So yeah.
Right.
It's the smell.
It's the smell.
Yeah.
It's a little spicy with the dirt. I smell like spicy dirt.
Brute.
Brute. It just sent me back to my dad's bathroom.
Oh my god.
What's that Johnny Depp one? Sauvage or
Oh my god.
Lord.
walking around piles of cow dung and skulls and shit like that. That commercial is ridiculous. If you haven't
my
seen
gosh.
it, you YouTube that shit. It's
I'm definitely going to look that up.
Nice.
So yeah, I'm going to look at Breksta and, while she's like admiring my novelty, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that I've ever, and I probably in character, I don't know that I've ever seen a person of your stature before, miss.
Oh, well, clearly you've never had the pleasure of meeting a Nixie, one of the ladies of the lake, but I will forgive your ignorance. It's surprisingly common in your kind.
Ladies of the lake, you in the business of doling out swords?
I beg your pardon.
Oh, I got racist real quick.
Oh, shit.
It is true that like the European fairy folk don't really go in the New World because the New World has its own spirits and its own, so yeah, it's like there's definitely kind of a divide there. So
if only Mark Twain were there.
Oh, yeah.
Inspiration.
to smooth things over.
Given that he's a Yankee. in
Hey, I'm
a faraway court.
yeah, it's true. Yeah.
Yeah, so this Nixie's shooting daggers at you.
Yeah, I'll be like, I might pick that up
Mm-hmm.
and say, meaning no offense, I'm a big fan of the old stories. You can tell I'm an old timer myself. I grew up with that kind of stuff.
I appreciate your curiosity. I suppose it is only natural. You perhaps are thinking of some of my cousins, but no, not all lake ladies are, shall we say, sword givers.
Another question, David.
Yes.
Given that the Empress is on board, would any of us have been allowed to carry on weapons?
Yeah. Good question. Anything packed up would be fine. Obviously, they're not doing like full body pat downs or anything. Now, if the Empress were to walk into the car, they might, or at least
Okay.
ask people to, turn over any arms they have on them at the moment. But yeah, like if you have a little piece, tucked up under your jacket or whatever, or a sword cane, for example, that should be fine.
Yeah, I kind of just want to in relation to the sword comment, since she's not doling out swords, so to speak. I say, well, that's no problem. I got this here, and I think it'll do me over. And I'll kind of like open up my jacket, and you can see just like a Colt 6-shooter holstered in my. So you know I'm the real deal.
All right.
I think that my facial expression is a little like the kind you give when you're indulging a child. Like, oh, that's so nice. Like, good for you. That's lovely.
I'm like, thank you.
That's right.
Yeah.
Nice.
All right. So, excellent. So, of course, your primary reason for coming over was to talk to Miss Bernhardt.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so we've got that going on. So, of course, Grant turns and begins chatting with her. We've got Astrid and Iskander socializing with Sasha. We've got Frederick getting crunk on absinthe. Excellent. Okay. So, a little bit of time passes in that regard, in that theme, and presently, Professor Reinhardt enters the car, and so Sasha, excuses herself and goes over and greets her mom. And meanwhile, Grant, you've had a chance to talk to Miss Bernhardt and get a few leads, on what's going on. So this would actually be a perfect opportunity for me to highlight one of the things they suggest in the game here. Let me just see if I can find the relevant sections. Curse this 27-year-old binding if it falls apart in my very hands. Let's see here. So basically they said that, the action of the game is either taking place on stage or off stage. And on stage is what we're doing right now. But they suggest that for off stage, that's an opportunity to like develop other plot lines that are going on, sort of parallel to the action that's going on stage, right? And so I'm just looking for the section because they summed it up nicely, but it's not presenting itself to me. Anyway, what they said is that basically anyone can use that. They can use that venue. So they even said like two players could do like an offstage thing, in between sessions, right? Where you're kind of like maybe like on the Obsidian portal in our case, or through an email thread or something, just like kind of developing out some, background action that's going on.
That's cool.
Yeah. So like in this case, Kenny, you and I can like do a little thing, during the week where it's like, oh, what did you talk about? And then we'll figure out what kind of clues got dropped. And then, later on in the next installment, maybe that'll come back around, right?
Love that idea.
Cool.
That would be cool.
Excellent. Okay, so but at this point, Professor Reinhardt has entered the car, and Sasha's gone over. They're chatting a little bit, and and then Professor Reinhardt turns to the rest of you, and she says, "Ladies and gentlemen, the train is now running under its own power." I have hooked up the automated telegraphic punch card shuffler, and I would very much like to show you all how it works.
Yes,
So is there
yes,
enough
yes,
room in the parlor
yes.
car for how wide Astrid's eyes get and mine at the same time? Create a singularity or something like that.
yes, and a black hole is spontaneously created, and the campaign.
That's the mayhem.
the mayhem part. That's right. Sorry, I forgot. We're in chapter 2 now. Actually, the chapter 1 was mayhem on the platform, but obviously getting on the train did take us into chapter 2, Tram of Terror. Yeah, it's been pretty terrifying so far. I know.
Well, there wasn't a lot of mayhem on the platform either, so maybe this is a...
That's true.
It was a minor cudgel showing.
Yeah, cudgel brandishing, but that wasn't really too scary.
Cudgel brandishing on the platform, it just doesn't have the same kind of zip or ring to it. So, yeah.
That was actually what I was going to call my memoir.
Cudgel brandishing on the platform. Nice. It's mayhem in the Victorian sense, right? It was some rude toughs threatening a woman. That's mayhem enough, frankly. So,
like sensationalized.
Yeah, I don't know if I can handle much more, honestly.
All right. So, so she has invited all of you to check out this machine, this contraption.
Just gentleman that I am, of course, would allow gesture for Astrid to go in front of me, but otherwise that would be first in line. I mean, she's not even done speaking the sentence when I'm like, holy shit, striding over there. So, but yeah.
Excuse me, sir, I cannot see over you.
Yeah, this does give me an opportunity to use one of my many literally translated Swedish sayings for how I feel about this. At this point, it'd be, drag me back. I cannot believe we get to go see it.
Drag me back. Nice. All right. So she's more than happy to show off her pride and joy, her masterpiece. However, Ms. Bernhardt demurs. She's had a bit too much of the bubbly. She's going to go lie down. But the rest of you proceed onwards with the professor.
Can we bring our drinks?
You can bring your drinks.
A little to-go cup. Roadie.
I like your style.
you just get out this well-used 7-Eleven 64-ounce and just pour it in there.
Big gulps, huh?
Big gulp, yeah.
As it's the latest invention, it's called the big gulp.
It's called the große gulp.
Yeah.
All right. So as she's
he's quite the farfamer.
They might say that. So as the professor is leading you towards the front of the train, she's sort of talking back over her shoulder, and she's saying, I've heard the press call this train Babbage's engine because of its automated driver. It is an amusing title, but not an entirely accurate one. You see, my friends, this is the automated telegraphic punch card shuffler. While the analytical engine which operates the train is a wonder, it cannot see ahead. It does not know the conditions of the track, kilometers ahead, or indeed around the next bend, and thus needs information about the route deviations, dangers on the track, and so forth from down the line. My beautiful creation can accept this information in the form of telegraphic signals sent cleverly along the track and up through the wheels and into my invention. The automated telegraphic punch card shuffler then spins and inserts the proper sequence of punch cards into the Babbage engine in order to change the train's operating instructions. And so as she's saying this, she's bringing you into the front car, and there's this massive bank. So you enter this car, there's this massive bank of just wires and switches and diodes and this big 3-foot 3-foot diameter ship's wheel basically, and you can just hear it clicking and clacking and the sound of cards being shuffled and distributed inside of its guts.
There's also the sound of Iskander furiously taking notes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, all this stuff just goes right over my head.
How about Frederick?
Yeah, this is all German to me. Is that the things that they say? No, Katsibu, get out of there!
Oh my god.
Hold on wires.
All right. So yeah, so you're just you're all taking this in. All of a sudden, the train lurches rather violently. Grant, you slip sideways and suddenly find yourself losing your balance as the laces, you realize the laces on your buckskin boots have been tied together somehow.
I'm livid.
But you do manage to keep your footing, brace yourself against the wall. But yes, no, the train did lurch quite unnaturally, and Professor Burkhardt and Sasha both look around with alarm. Professor's like, that shouldn't be.
Maybe it's just noticed something on the tracks. It's probably just doing its job. I'm sure everything is fine.
Well, that felt like an outside disturbance. Something hit the train, it seems like. And at that point, the door to the car that you just, you came in through slides open again. And you see at least two rather grim-faced men, both wearing matching black uniforms, each with a Gothic-style golden D embroidered over their left breast, standing in the doorway. They both are brandishing drawn pepper box revolvers, and they have sabers sheathed at their sides.
Well, I'm gonna. Well, first of all, I guess before all that happened, as soon as I realized my shoelaces were tied, I'm gonna look at Breksta because I'm pretty sure she did this.
When and how could I possibly have done it? I was with Sarah this whole time.
Oh, that's just something a mischievous fairy lady might say to an old timer like me who just likes swords. But I assume
he's just a sword guy.
I'm just a sword guy. I assume I can't do anything about my shoelaces at the moment.
Well, I mean, you could, but yes, there are now some menacing men. Does anyone have great connections? Does anyone have connections above average level?
Yes, I do.
All right, Frederick, if you want, you can do a test to try and identify what that Gothic golden D stands for.
Sure. So how would I do that?
Okay, so what level is your connections? A good,
It's
I assume?
good. Yep.
Yes. All right, so that's worth 6 points. And then, let me make myself a little cheat sheet here. And then to get up to great level, you need to play only 2 more points from your hand. So let's see, this would be a social or status related activity. So that would be the suit of swords. So if you have a sword in your hand, you could play that at face value. Or you could play 2 non-swords hands for 1 point each and get to 8 that way.
Okay, so you said I only need 2, right?
Yeah.
8? And there's nothing above 8. That's the highest you can go.
No, I mean, you can exceed it if you wanted to.
Would there
It's
be
just
any real benefit to that, or?
Well, actually, yeah. I mean, the more you exceed the target, the better your success. So if your total is equal to greater than the required level, it's a partial success. If it's equal to greater than half again, so that would be 12 or higher, it's a success. And if it's double, which would be a 16, that's a high success. So, for example, with Iskander, he got a high success because he got a 16 and he against a value of 6. So, he basically just cowed those guys and they ran off.
Oops, sorry about that. Okay, so I'm going to play the King of Swords. I'm going to see what
Damn!
happens. Yeah,
Wow.
Throwing it down.
Okay, the King of Swords, indeed. So that's a great success. All right, so basically, let's see here. Or a high success, I should say. And... okay, so you immediately recognize, being the diplomat that you are, you must be familiar with all the great and small lords of Europe. And so this is both the personal monogram and the sort of, what would you say, diplomatic symbol for Lord Dyer of Travania. Travania being a small principality located in the Eastern Alps, and Lord Dyer being none other than Lord Anton Dyer, hereditary ruler of Travania. And with that high success, I would say that you know a lot about this guy, mostly because he's considered to be sort of a rogue actor on the international scene. He is somewhat, unpredictable, perhaps even unstable, and fancies himself, a much bigger fish than he really is. You're also aware of his interest in aeronautics.
Is he considered a threat to the Empress in any way? Do we know if he's like is he in opposition to her? Is he a kind of something I should be worried about from that standpoint?
You're not aware of any active opposition on his part. His principality is on the borders of Austria-Hungary, but he's never made any trouble for the emperor or empress, to your knowledge.
Okay, and I'm assuming he wouldn't want to start now. So I will step forward and say, by the authority of the Royal Embassy of Vienna and the Empress, Elizabeth of Austria, please stand aside.
All right. So, so the guy in the lead quickly swings his pistol around and points it at you, and he says, "We don't want any trouble with the Empress or anybody else on this train. We've merely come for the professor and her remarkable engine. The rest of you can step off this car."
That is not going to happen. I'm going to look around for like a wrench or something, other improvised weapon of some sort, a spanner.
There might be a little spanner leaning up between two of the superstructures inside the shuffler.
Yeah, you might notice me like putting my giant Mary Poppins bag down, and when I open it, it jangles because it's full of like spanners and hammers and whatnot. Uh-huh. And I say, "You've planted your last potato," and I'm pulling out a tool of some kind. Yes, that is a saying.
That is way more racist than whatever I said about swords.
It's a Swedish saying. We freaking love potatoes, dude. And that's your last one. That's all you get?
That's all you get.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll grab the little spanner because I don't think I have anything in my toolkit that would be better for a improvised weapon. Really, not the toolkit that I carry on my person, at least.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, better than nothing. Especially because I can throw it.
Which
is my plan.
While I'm kind of kneeling down trying to get my dang shoelaces untied. Breksta. I'm definitely going to like kind of pull my coat aside so that I have easy access to my revolver, because I hear you've planted your last potato, and I know what that means.
You can pick it up through the context, yeah.
That's right.
All right, and how about Breksta?
I think I would like to evoke my etherealness. I would like to slip behind them, if possible.
Nice. Yeah, I'd say in the sort of close confines of the car, they might not have even seen you to begin with, since you're so diminutive, you know.
I'm hoping, that I just kind of look like a puff of very colorful steam.
Yeah, totally. All right, let's see here. How does that etherealness work exactly?
I was just looking it up. It is a physical task, I think.
Okay. Yep.
Which is wands, right?
Yeah. Oh, actually, it's in my book here. It has it corresponding to spades, which translates to swords.
Okay.
So,
fabulous.
Yeah. So let's see here. What do you have it at? Good?
I have it at average, actually.
Average. With average, you could pass through wooden walls only, become like a thick fog, fly slowly. Okay. So
I'm imagining I can just kind of, again, like sort of like sink to the floor and sort of between them kind of a thing.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. Like a heavy gas.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right. So there you go. Okay, so yeah, it's a very tense moment. Frederick, you've got this revolver pointed right at your guts. And so he said, we're just here for the professor. What do you want to do to that?
Katsubu, go warn the Empress, and I'll draw my sword cane.
All right, so the cat takes off as you unsheath your sword cane. Ha! Have at you. All right, so you want to try and bat the revolver away, or what do you think?
Yeah, maybe as I draw it, because it's hopefully unexpected that it's a sword. I'll be able to, in one fluid motion, draw it and kind of hit the barrel up as I do so.
Excellent. All right, so yeah, let's do a thing here. So this is going to be like kind of an opposed contest, like I said earlier, and it's one in which we are looking for clubs, because that's the physical activity, and so if you have any, or what I'm saying, clubs, that's the old suit. Wands is the physical activity, and so if you have any wands in your hand. You can play those for face value.
Do I immediately get another card, or does that happen after I've expended all of them?
Let's see here. That's what new cards. New cards are gained every time a card is used to perform a feat. That sounds like it's right away. For myself, now of course you add your play to your fencing ability.
Yes, so my fencing is good.
Okay.
And you said I need to get to up to an 8, is that correct?
Oh, well, in this case, since it's an opposed, we're really just seeing who can get the highest total. So I'm going to say, like marksmanship is for shooting, but since you are kind of like just trying to sort of bat it away from him, I'm actually going to give him I'm going to base my reaction on courage, because I'm going to see if he flinches from you or not, right?
Okay.
So my courage is good, so that is a 6. And then, what did you say your fencing was?
Also good.
Also good. So we're both at 6. So whatever we can do to bid that up, basically, with the play of the cards. So what would you like to play?
Well, I have no wands to play, so that's a good start.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just going to dump all 4 cards and bump it up to 10 and hope for the best. That
sounds good.
Is that a strategy that people do?
That I think that's perfectly fine. Yeah.
Okay.
All in, buddy.
All in. That's right. Let's see here. Okay. Cool. So that would get you a partial success then, because you're not at double his level, which is 6. I'm going to choose not to play anything just because I don't have any wands either. So, whoops. Oh man, I just hit the click and drag on the background here. Your map might shift around dramatically. Just trying to get it.
Real quick question.
Okay. Yes, go ahead.
Is there like an initiative system in this game, or is it just, can we just be like, hey, I want to go next?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty much like, if you've got an idea and it fits in the flow. You know?
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so with a partial success, I'm going to say that you did manage to get him to back off and flinch away, but you did not like knock the pistol out of his hand or anything like that. He's still holding it.
Okay.
Okay, so the flash of steel as a strange fog begins to envelop your ankles. And does Grizzly Grant have a move now?
I figured I would probably go last because I'm messing with my shoelaces.
That totally makes sense. All right. Who's next?
Seeing this, I feel like I would definitely heft the spanner while muttering to Astrid something about force equaling mass times acceleration, and then reaching back, flinging it end over end like a throwing knife with all my strength, right at the sweet spot on the soldier that Frederick did not attack, at his companion.
The guy kind of behind him, yeah. All right, cool.
So there were 2, right?
2 that you can see, yeah. They're sort of taking up the door frame, so there might be more behind them. Okay.
Is the door open in towards us or out the other way?
It's the old sliding job. Little sliding door.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. That might work.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Cool. So you're sending this heavy wrench right at this guy's head. Let's see. So that's technically a ranged attack. Let's see here. What is do you have marksmanship?
I do not.
Okay, so that means it defaults to average.
Average.
Yeah. Average. Yeah. Nothing wrong with that. And so that's a value of 4. And is there anything you would like to play to augment that?
That's a physical attack.
Mm-hmm.
Am I mistaken?
That is correct. So that would be wands.
Yeah, let's drop a page of wands on that and see if that helps.
Ooh, damn. Okay. There's really not much I can do to compete with that. So that 11 plus the 4 is a 15. Let's see. Against a 6. All right, so that is a full success. And what would be the equivalent? Okay. Wound types indicate damage at different success levels. Okay. Okay, cool. All right, so with a full success, you hit him with like kind of a glancing blow on his skull, and it definitely shakes him. You know, he staggers back.
It would make a satisfying ping sound as a warning to others.
Indeed. And I owe Alex 4 cards. Just remind me if I forget to deal out new cards at any time. And,
I have a real quick question.
Yeah.
Are aces value 1?
Aces are high, actually, so they are valued at 15.
Oh, sick. Not that I have one.
No, certainly not. Jeez, I had a crummy hand. Yes, go ahead, Jade.
Oh, if this one guy is staggering,
Uh-huh.
I'm ostensibly behind them, can I take form and maybe like take him out from the back of the knee?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I'm hoping strength is involved in that. Perhaps I can use physique.
Yes, I'd say physique is perfect. Yeah,
Excellent.
Sweep the leg.
exactly.
What's my target for that?
Let's see. So he's staggering backwards. So I'd say like only 4, really.
Excellent. I have a 4.
Haha. And then you have average physique.
I have good physique.
You have good physique, so that's 10 total. So that is more than double. So that is a full success. So yeah, so he staggers backwards right as you rematerialize and do the old, look out behind you trick. And of course you're right on the little platform, at the end of the car, and there's a nice little gap between the two cars. So he just goes right over you and just like with a Wilhelm scream and just goes right under the wheels of the train.
Fabulous.
Do not mess with Fey folk. They
Oh,
will
darn.
Okay.
All right. Now, since you're kind of out on that back platform there, Breksta, you realize it's like much dimmer than it should be. There's like very little sunlight, as if a massive cloud were blocking the sun.
Well, that seems unusual for here.
Mm-hmm.
Can I use my perception to see what that is?
Yes. Is that above average?
It is good.
Excellent. So yeah, easily seen actually. As you kind of look around, there's something directly above the train.
Could it be a diabolical airship?
It very well could.
Phenomenal.
Zeppelin.
Yeah, no, there's actually several cables descending from this thing. It's like a giant, floating platform essentially with some cables descending from hatches in the bottom of the platform. And yeah, more of these guys in black uniforms are, rappelling down as we speak.
Oh, man.
About how many?
Right now, from your vantage point, you just see 2. All right, who just played the lovers?
I did. I'm just discarding it because I got another extra major.
Oh, I gotcha.
card.
I gotcha. Okay, cool.
Yes. Thank you.
I will recall that. Thank you. I'm like, that's an interesting timing. Although that one's actually pretty interesting. All for one and one for all. Allow the entire party exactly 1 minute to trade cards or exchange hands as desired. Cards representing drawn power for sorcery may not be included in this exchange. All right. So that is what's going on outside the car. Meanwhile, inside the car, we had this guy who got sort of thrown back by Frederick's sword draw. And I'd say by this point, Grant, you have untied your buckskin. So what would you like to do?
Okay. Well, I've got easy access to my revolver right now, my 6-shooter.
Mm-hmm.
At this point, one of these fools has already been crunched by the train, right?
Mm-hmm.
Breksta murked him already.
Mm-hmm.
So there's how many people are like? How many of these villains are in front of me?
Really, just the one.
Okay, cool. And Frederick is kind of, well, I am famed for my sharpshooting in America. Y'all may not have heard of me here, but I would like to I'd like to try to, cap this dude. One shot, one kill.
Yeah. All right. So,
and that would be wands, right?
That would be wands indeed. Yes.
Okay, great. Okay, cool. Well, so I just tell you. So I'm good at marksmanship, which means I have a +6.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Then, yes, that's one way of looking at it. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, and then what? And then I just need to beat this guy, and that's it, right? His head's gone.
Yeah, I mean, let's see. Range attacks may be made up of twice effective range. Firing one less than 1/4 effective range gains a 2-point advantage. Doesn't really explain what an advantage is, which is unfortunate. But yes, normally it is an opposed roll, so we're just going to go with that for now.
Okay.
Opposed roll, opposed feat, opposed task.
He might be able to jump out of the way or something.
Yeah, exactly. I'll get some clarification on ranged attacks before next session, but yeah, we'll just go with that for now. All right. So, what would you like to play?
Well.
Well, sir.
Yeah, we'd established it was wands. So I'm dropping an ace of wands. Which I guess takes my headshot to a robust 21.
Ooh, robusto. I like how the art looks like his little hand coming out to go.
Oh yeah, one of my favorites.
All right. Cool. So, what is that? 21? You said total.
21 total.
21 total. Okay.
I say one shot, one kill, but I probably with a 6-shooter, I probably fire more American style. So I could be down messing with my shoelaces, and then I draw my gun, and I'm like, bam, 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 bam. You know?
Yeah, from a kneeling position.
Totally, yep.
Love it. All right.
With a rifle, I'm more take your time, all the time in the world,
Right. Okay, so let's see here. He's got a good physique, so that is still more than triple his physique, and I can't really play any cards to get it any better than that. Plus, who cares? Who cares about this guy?
Right.
I mean, he was 3 days away from retirement, but still. All right, so that's a high success on that bad boy. And let's see here.
I want some obviously this dude is gone.
Yeah.
But I definitely want some bullet holes in the door arch behind him, wood splintering, and that whole thing.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, you light him up, and he kind of does a little spin into the door jamb. Yeah, as the bullets tear through the material, the wall and the materials around it, and Professor Reinhardt screams, and the guy just kind of sinks down along the door jamb, clutching his bullet wounds as blood smears up behind him.
I stand up, and I'm imagining everybody kind of turns and looks at me, Haas is looking at me. The young professor is looking at me, and my gun's smoking, and I just tip my hat and I say, "Ma'am."
Oh man! All right. Okie dokie. So yes, that's that sorted for now. But as soon as that happens, seconds after your moment there, the car lurches yet again, even more violently. Breksta, from your position on the back of the car, you can see that what's been going on is that actually the roof of the car has even more of these goons on it, and they have attached a gigantic claw to the car, and it's beginning to winch itself back up into the airship.
Can I throw down my fool card.
Oh shit! I forgot you had that. Okay.
Bam! Also, I also need to discard this one because I got another major arcana. Sure. So the temperance one's just a discard.
Cool.
I also need a replacement card, David. If you could just throw me another ace.
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah, no problem. All right, let me deal these cards out real quick, and then we'll deal with this fool. Let's see here. Oh, there you are. And you need the 1. And there you go. And then a 2 going there. Okay. So what am I supposed to do with the Fool card? Let's see. I think I have to draw a card now. Host should draw a card from the fortune deck and use its suit to guide them in creating a twist in the story. All right. I draw a card.
The Zeppelin flies away.
Yeah, right. All right. It's Major Arcana, which is not of any use to me. So I draw again. Okay, I got Pentacles. Good. All right. Let's see here. Oh, interesting. Okay, so Pentacles is mental and intellectual activities, and guide them in creating a twist for the story. Oh, actually, if a Major Arcana is drawn, the feat simply succeeds in the most spectacular way possible. So I did initially draw that Major Arcana. Okay, so you get to decide some kind of feat you want to pull off, and it's going to succeed in the most spectacular way possible.
Oh no, no pressure.
Yeah. I would like to make the best mixed drink I can possibly make.
So it could be any kind of spectacular feat?
That's what it says, yeah.
What kind of mechanism are like these grappling hook thingies like attached to with the airship?
They're just going up on winches that are like on the side of the ship.
Okay, so it's sort of like spread out across the sides.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, it looks like they're trying to get it so that they can just literally lift the car off the tracks and, carry it away.
How many are there?
4.
4, okay.
Mm-hmm.
And are these like heavy chains? I imagine for lifting like, a train.
Yeah, like ship's chains, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. As for the airship itself, is there any kind of like, I don't know, visible, exhaust vent, important looking machinery, like
self-destruct button?
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. Precisely so.
Giant, like, balloon filled with hydrogen, maybe? I don't know.
Well, it does seem to be held aloft by a balloon, or multiple balloons actually, and then some combination of like balloons and like rotary propellers.
Okay. I think perhaps tucked into my bodices and my voluminous robes, I have some sort of dagger.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to like knife throw it and, I don't know, pop one of the balloons in a catastrophic way. Hopefully.
Yeah. Okay.
Please.
Please and thank you. I have no one but myself to thank for this.
Given that you have this aversion to iron, what would your knife be made of? Would it be perhaps napped from flint or similar, or I don't know, something like that?
Silver.
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 Super cool. Okay. Cool. All right. So let's see here. All right. Sounds good. So basically, the the knife flies through the air, hits one of these balloons, and yes, indeed, it is filled with hydrogen, and it's an unstable easily combustible gas. Maybe there was a spark coming off of one of these rotary engines, something. But basically, the balloon explodes rather spectacularly, and takes out a couple other, sponsons, and the whole ship begins to list to the side.
Excellent.
Mm-hmm.
Hearing this explosion, do you think the rest of us would run to see what is the matter?
I think that's perfectly reasonable. Yes.
Hearing such a clatter upon the roof.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, that's a hydrogen explosion. We should probably check that out.
That sounds like hydrogen.
I would know that anywhere.
That sounds like hydrogen.
Hello.
Rubbing one of your eyebrows as it has recently grown back.
Yeah. A lesson I learned all too well.
Yeah, we'll have to run out and take a look at this. Yeah,
so
sure.
this airship is listing what's happening to the car.
What's happening to the fools hanging from the airship?
Well, okay. So yeah. So basically, the outcome of that explosion is that you have seriously compromised the ship. The guys who are on the roof of the car have all either been blown off or had to hit the deck basically and are clinging on for dear life. Any guys who were rappelling are no more. So you took out a lot of these. You took out a lot of the crew basically.
Is it chaos?
It is chaos. It is
Excellent.
total chaos. Yeah.
Is it terror?
It is terror, actually. So thank you.
But is it also a little funny?
Oh, it's hilarious.
Fabulous.
Yeah. It's like that gif of Louise Belcher from Bob's Burgers with the flames in her eyes as she laughs uproariously. Okay, cool. So well done, and the rest of you rush out onto the back deck, and you can now see what is going on. So, Frederick, this definitely is a little bit beyond what you thought Anton Dyer was capable of.
Yeah. So I'll take a sip from my Grosser Gulp, and I'm curious: are the chains still attached? Is this thing listing with these chains still attached to the roof?
It is listing, and the chains are still attached. Yes.
Okay, so my primary goal here is to protect the Empress. So I'm going to set to work trying to pull the pins, attaching this car to the other cars. Right, we're at the front of the train at this point.
Yes. Yes.
So yeah, I want to try to detach it because if it pulls it off the tracks, it's going to pull the rest of the train with it.
True.
And that can't happen as far as my character is concerned. But so that'll be my primary goal, is looking for that mechanism and trying to unhook it.
Okay. I assume you do not have poor tinkering.
I don't, but looking around, it seems that I am surrounded by
tinkerers.
quite capable. So
yes.
Yes, hurry! We must detach this train.
I feel like I'll put two and two together, seeing him do this, and just leap to try to help him.
Just looking to look at fear.
Crashes while it's attached. We're all fucked.
Yeah.
The look of fear on my face is very easily read.
I'm putting two and two together and going the opposite direction.
Gotta go.
I'm like, y'all got that, and I'm looking for more people to kill.
All right. So does that mean does that mean you want to go up on the roof of the car?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, I want to stay close to these guys. Wherever they go, I kind of want to just watch their back. I've got a gun, and I might be able to protect them, save the Empress.
Yeah. So if you go back and you look at the floor plan of the Duchess Elizabeth, there is the Babbage engine car. So as you can see, it's about a third the size, about a third the length of the other cars. And then you've got the back deck, which is where most of you have gathered. Then the front deck is really just looking at the coal carrier, the coal car or whatever that has stocks all the coal for the engine. and then of course you could climb up on the roof as well because there were some dudes up there.
So I'm thinking we want to detach it, but then also save the car if possible. So maybe after detaching it, try to disconnect all the claw hooks that are in it.
Mm-hmm.
My plan is probably to stay with the engine after detaching and try to keep it from, because obviously if it pulls it off the tracks, you might destroy this wonderful contraption, and that would be a tragedy as well.
I'm definitely concerned about keeping the professor safe, and then also, this isn't my first run-in with people trying to steal technology. I'm not about to let this wonderful analytical engine fall into hands that may not want to do good with it.
Mm-hmm. Dire hands, you might say.
Dire hands. Dire dicks.
That's what the D stands for.
Diabolical dickheads.
All right, cool. Any other significant actions on anybody's part?
I got kind of a big idea, so I'm waiting to get as many of these goons in one location as I can.
Okay.
Time for a little it's high noon action.
Indeed.
And can you just remind me too, what's the order of the cars attached to this behind us?
Right. So behind you would be the sleeping cars. So it's 3 sleeping cars, parlor car, dining car, Empress's private car.
So most everyone is clustered yonder. But it's the middle of the day, so most people probably won't be in their sleeping cars.
Correct.
Right, that's what I was thinking.
And the claws are attached to the engine, right?
The claws are attached to your car, actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Right, they're after the professor, not really the Empress.
It doesn't seem that way. Yeah, they're either after the professor or they're after this car specifically. They don't seem to care about any other part of the train.
Mm-hmm. We also ought not to forget how Katsubu fared on his mission. The cat's mission to warn the Empress, and perhaps the guards would come running at some point or something.
Or perhaps abscond with the Empress themselves.
Or there you go. I mean, they might detach the car so it just slowly coasts to a stop while all the drama proceeds down the tracks. Something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, and then Katsubu is just sitting on the roof of the cars watching as the rest of the train goes on.
Dude, that would be great if Katsubu was just in true cat fashion, just bat, and the plane falls out and the car just detaches.
He's so smart.
Strong too, apparently.
Well. Okay, cool. So how about there, Grizzly Grant? You got a plan?
I got kind of a plan. So, how many of these goons are left, I guess, is my concern.
I mean, you won't know for sure until you get up on the roof, but
okay.
Half dozen or so maybe.
Okay, yeah. So if everybody else is like, hey, obviously we're all probably communicating our ideas together.
Sure.
So if you guys are like, hey, we're gonna engineer this sumbitch, to blah blah blah, I'm gonna be like, this is not where I am needed, because my pour is tinkering. So I'm gonna try to do something useful. I'll be like, all right, give me a few minutes. I'm gonna climb up to the roof of the car, and I look awesome with my greasy hair and my dusty
blowing in the wind.
Blowing in the wind, yeah. Yeah, greasy hair is my hair is completely still, but
everything else is blowing, the code and everything.
Everything else is blowing in the wind, including my recently undone shoelaces.
The cables are attached to the roof as well, though, right? So
yes,
Frederick would be pointing out that that's a giant problem. I would pick up on what he's laying down and leap to climb to the roof to try to address that problem.
Now we're talking.
Grant is also scrambling up to the roof simultaneously to enact his plan. Maybe provide some cover, I'm guessing, for it.
Mm-hmm.
You might think that.
Who knows?
Yeah. I'm a
I don't know.
wild card, buddy.
Maybe he's gonna shoot the chains or something.
And I'll probably draw my sword, or have already drawn, have my sword cane and defend Astrid as she's working on her project. So kind of standing in that middle section. You know, if there's any more of those guys that hop down or do anything weird, kind of be ready for that.
Right. Okay.
Sword cane. So cool.
All right. So the two of you clamber up to the roof of the car, and indeed you can see, 5 of these uniformed goons starting to pick themselves back up after the explosion knocked them down.
Okay. I want to do some magic here, David, and I have no idea how it works.
Yep. I was wondering if we'd get to the magic.
I have waited for this moment.
Yeah. It's gonna be ridiculous. So if I can pull it off, we'll see.
Let's find out. Okay, so we've got the sorcery deck. So first, I have to deal you 4 cards from said deck. All right, deal 4. Okay.
And this, I was reading a little bit in the book that the sorcery deck represents the amount of magic in the world, and it's finite.
Yes.
Like I can blow through all this magic pretty quick.
Yes. Nice. All right. So these are different design cards, but they're the same, same suits and everything. So.
Okay.
Once again, if you got any major arcana, it's a limit of 1 per hand. So if you got more than 1, let me know.
I got the Hermit.
Uh-huh.
And I got Roy. I don't even know if I can pronounce that many E's.
Roy DeFay.
There you go.
It's just Roy. It's a card called Roy.
It's just Roy.
Yeah.
Roy.
I got Roy and the Hermit.
Reginald. Yeah, that's the king of
some
swords.
dude with a beer.
Yeah.
Yeah, Roy. Wow, I've never seen that card before. That's really weird.
That is eerie. I personally uploaded each card. Yeah, so that's King of Swords.
It's King of Swords, and I can imagine King of Swords as like do big sword time.
Yes, indeed. And the Hermit is a very good card to have. It says, as the sorcerer gathers power, they are possessed by an insight into the nature of the spell. Treat their sorcery skills if it were a rank higher, i.e. great instead of good, and recalculate the cost of the spell.
That's outrageous. Okay, so what does Roy do besides hand me a Budweiser?
It's a King of Swords, so it's face value of 14.
Okay.
Yeah.
I see what's going on. Yeah, well, then if that's the case, then I only have the Hermit as my as my thingy.
Indeed you do. Let's see here. All right. So what is your the way that you do spells is you okay, so first we have to determine first step is research. You must learn how to construct the spell you want to cast. It's not a quick and dirty affair. It requires time, patience, and a lot of hard work. A spell is constructed by reading the secret lore that contains what you want to do and using one of the spells contained within that lore. Each order has 1 or more books as part of their lore. You have access to the books of your order and only those. Yes. Okay. So, interesting. So, casting on the fly, unless we've done a spell before, I suppose, that would apply in this case, wouldn't really work, sadly. So, just to let you know, the Masons have 2 lore books. One has to deal with alchemy, and the other is dealing with illusions.
Right.
Yeah.
I remember. Okay, so but are there specific spells?
I mean, there kind of are, but then it's also very wide open. So the alchemy book, for example, has 3 spells: Universal Alchemic, Alchemic Destruction, and Alchemic Barrier. Okay. Alchemic destruction causes the victim to subsume into his raw chemical materials a greasy bubbling puddle of slime.
That sounds awesome.
Essential salts.
Yeah,
Essential
right.
salts.
What
And then-
about? I really just I want to do some illusion magic. Was my kind of my big brain time.
Okay.
But if
is
it's
totally
a
fine.
specific spell, I can literally just shoot 6 of these guys with King of Swords.
Okay, so with the illusions, illusions of mind and body, concerns itself with the imparting with sight, sound, touch, smell, and taste. Definitions of this lore encompass the complexity and duration of the illusion, whether it encompasses multiple parts or is one thing, whether the description of what you want to create is vague or unknown to you, whether the illusion will be mobile. So this is one you can actually do on the fly.
Sick.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
good. Then we're back on track.
We're back on track. Okay. So you want to weave an illusion. What kind of
I
illusion?
want to weave an illusion. I basically want to make it to where the explosion that Breksta caused is about to bring their ship down on top of the train. My end goal being they leap from the train in fear to avoid this thing getting, crushing them.
Brilliant. Okay. I think we can definitely do that. So each spell has an associated aspect, type of energy that the spell is constructed from. There are 4 kinds of magical aspects, and they correspond to one of the 4 suits in the deck, of course. And so let's see here. Spell aspects. Okay.
And am I fueling, like if I lay down a card, is it from the sorcery deck or from the fortune deck?
It's from the sorcery deck.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's see here. So this is something that's affecting so this is dimensional sorceries, right? Spiritual and dimensional sorceries or material magics, the physical world. Transformation, alteration. Here we go. Okay. So illusion magic corresponds to cups.
Right.
Okay. So that's the aspect. Okay. So now you have your sorcery deck, and let's see here. So now you just have to define what you want to happen, which we kind of did. So basically we have to tally this up here. So let's see. You want this. So first thing is duration. So you want this thing to have a duration of like probably about a minute or so, right? Maybe a little longer.
I would say so. Yeah.
I
think a minute is long enough.
Of this thing coming down.
Yeah. For them to realize their impending doom and flee for their lives.
Okay. And so let's see here. Spell involves only one element. Spell involves a few elements. Spell involves many elements. I'd say it's many elements.
I would agree.
Yep. And then
not that it matters.
Yeah. Spell range is within unaided sight. All right. So let's see, that's 5, 7, and then subjects affected up to 10 is 9. An entire country is one option.
Good.
Subject is mortal, makes it 10. And damn, if the subject is a dwarf, that's plus 16.
Hate magic, huh? Are they very gullible?
No, it's the opposite. They're completely resistant to magic.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah. So let's see here. We were up to 10 there, and then subject totally unknown to you makes that 14. Okay. All right. So now you have to begin gathering power. All right. So we have 14. That's the thalamic energy requirement. Minus your sorcery ability. Oh, okay. Which we now know is rated as great, thanks to your Major Arcana play.
That's right. Do I have to do I lose that card playing?
Yes,
that?
you would play that.
Okay.
So great is 8. So that makes it 6. Okay. When an amount equal to or greater than the total thamic energy requirement of a spell has been gathered, the spell can be released. Power is gathered by drawing cards one at a time from the sorcery deck, one card for every 2 minutes of game time. Okay. So, in fact, I shouldn't have dealt you that hand. That's fine. Whatever.
That's fair.
So, yeah, I dealt you the Major Arcana one first. Wow, bazinga. There you go. And then...
You actually did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Perfect. Yeah. And so what's next in your hand? What's the next card?
The next in my hand would be the Eight of Cups.
The eight... Whoa! All right. Well, that is the very aspect that you needed.
Correct.
So very good. And you only needed a 6 because of your insight into the nature of the spell. So each play of a card counts as 2 minutes of game time as you're gathering these energies. Okay. Yes.
Yeah, so I'm standing on the top of the train. My greasy ass hair is glued to my head. My duster is like blowing behind me. And I kind of like hold up my hand in a very like Thanos way. For the first time, those who may be witnessing their doom see that I have a very nice silver Masonic ring. Oh, I should have put it on. I have a very nice silver Masonic ring, square and compass, and a skull in the middle of it. And that thing just starts like glowing, and I'm just like sucking up all of this magical energy from the world that's like channeling into my fists. And I'm about to rip this Zeppelin from the sky, buddy.
All right. So meanwhile, Iskander, you've climbed up on the roof as well. So you can see that Grizzly Grant is like doing some kind of ritual.
Your importance of ritual can't be understated, as evidenced by Frederick's preparation of his green fairy drink.
Oh, also, David, the hermit just gave me, it just bumped up the thing. That was the additional insight. I see. Yeah. Okay. Never mind. Sorry. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. All right. So these guys are kind of collecting their wits now, and it's going to take Grizzly Grant a couple minutes to cast this spell. What do you want to do in the meantime?
So I need to start trying to get these chains disconnected from the car. So there's the nearest one. I'm just going to rush to that and start trying to ascertain how it works. Is it a simple cotter pin type of situation, or is it a big hook on whatever? I mean, who knows how it was attached? I have to examine it and quickly determine how to disassemble it and then break it or dismantle it, throw the chain free, and move on to the next one.
Indeed. What is your physique?
My physique is good.
Good. Okay. So one of the guys sees you making for the hookup and raises his pepper box revolver and takes a shot at you.
That's not good.
He has great marksmanship. I'm just going to go ahead and play all 4 of the cards from my hand. None of them are wands, so these are just worth +1 each. So that gives me 12 total. So anything you can play in response to that. You are starting from a 6.
Yeah, not really. I mean, if I played all 4 of my cards, I could match it, but I don't know if I want to do that.
Right now I'm at a full success since I'm W, so all you'd have to do is just play 1 card to make it a partial success.
Oh, okay.
Cool. All right, so that makes it a partial success. So you are going to take a wound as he clips you. Let's see here. Pepper box, revolvers. Okay, ouch. Those things sting. All right. So yeah, he does indeed wing you on the shoulder. I don't suppose you have like a leather duster or anything to give you armor protection. Oops.
Just your standard wool suit, so no armoring of any kind, really.
Okay. All right, so just mark that you've taken a wound. And let me get your need 2 abilities here. I need your physique and your courage. Physique was good, right?
Yeah, physique is good and courage is average.
Okay. All right. So actually, the wound is pretty bad. It actually, cuts through some muscle.
Right in the meat.
Yep.
Ouch.
What would you like to do in response to that?
Well, it seems that Grant is going to be taking some time with what he's doing. So rather than go to my task immediately, I might have to try to fend off some of these guys. So given that we're on the roof of a moving train, it really doesn't seem like a finesse sort of situation. You really just have to kind of get them off the train. And I'm imagining none of them have tickets. So it's going to be a very no ticket kind of situation.
I love it.
So
no ticket.
Yeah. How do greater aspects work exactly? What's their deal with that? You play it and it lets you do something.
Oh, the major
Cool,
arcana? Yeah.
Major arcana, that's it.
Yeah.
Like blow up a hydrogen balloon with a silver dagger.
For example, yes.
For instance.
Yeah, so you had strength, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I think this is a good time for that.
Definitely. All right. So the tableau is that we have Grizzly Grant weaving a spell while Iskander, squares himself off as these, 5 dudes start to close around you. Whether Grizzly Grant will be able to get his spell off in time is a question we will have to wait for. Find out next week as we end on a bit of a cliffhanger with Frederick trying to uncouple the train and the professor in great danger and all of you really. So we will find out next week as we wrap up chapter 2. What was it called? Terror.
Tram of Terror.
Tram of Terror. As we wrap up chapter 2, Tram of Terror, and move on to the next chapter, whose name will depend on how this all pans out. So anyway, thanks everybody. That was good. We'll just note that strength was played. I think everyone just keeps their hands, persistently from one session to the next. So I'll just keep this exactly how it is here, and we'll just pick it up exactly where we left off. But yeah, great game, everybody.
Great game.
Indeed.
Yep, that was fun.
Well done, everyone.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Mm-hmm.